Hello, Jennifer, again. Long time no see. Not. We just did a wonderful session about energy vampires. Fascinating. So if you haven't checked it out, check it out now. Hello again, Erik. And guess what? I still love you, just like I said, 20 minutes ago. So
Yes. I
we're,
love you too. Hey,
oh,
you know what? He said I can never hear that enough. Who
oh,
can really? Whoever gets sick of
no.
hearing that.
Yeah, no,
Oh,
especially if they really mean it. And I do.
yes. Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. Uh, when he was growing up or well, all through, I always made sure that every telephone call ended with "I love you," and the same when my kids left, that left the house to go somewhere. But anyway, living in ego. First, Erik, do we need an ego? And if so,
Yes.
why?
Yep. We do need an ego. Um, well, it's a very human um whatever characteristic trait. Uh well, he says basically without it, we humans wouldn't be humans without the ego.
Well, do
Uh,
other living like other aliens or species or races, I should say, have egos? Do some of them?
some, but not. It's the ego is the biggest with the human race, is what he
Ah.
says.
What about
It's
animals here or any other living creatures here on Earth? Do any of them have egos?
no, it's not ego. That's just he said that's just animal instinct.
Ah,
Animal
okay.
instincts is what they have, not ego.
Okay. So why do we need an ego?
Uh, sorry. He just says sometimes to teach other people lessons about, sometimes to irk other people, and but he's just playing. Oh, we need an ego for the well-rounded experience of being human, of the insecurity that it helps with the range of emotions. Um,
Oh,
without the ego, um, there really wouldn't be like self-esteem issues. There wouldn't be it's just like, okay, well, this didn't work, I just move on. There wouldn't.
yeah.
Sometimes in a good way, the ego drives us. It drives us to learn and to do and to experience things. So without it, well, he said without it, we'd be a lot more peaceful, but we wouldn't need to be here.
Yeah. So, but how does the ego have to do with the range, evoking a range of emotions? Why is that? Is that little inner me that says, don't hurt me, or why is it?
Yeah, well, he's connecting it like to the brain and to the brain function and to it's just it
Hmm.
all works together. It all goes hand in hand. Emotions and our feelings, it's all connected to the ego. Now he says we're not talking about ego like when we say, oh, like that person's got a big ego.
Okay.
He just says like the ego in general.
Yeah.
It helps us process feelings, it helps us process
I see.
emotions.
It
It
probably
helps.
helps us with this illusion of separation, like I am a separate person with this little thing that gets, offended or whatever inside me, so that otherwise there is really no separation. We're
Right.
all a collective. So in order to
Yes.
experience everything in the human experience and that polarity, is that it? You have
Yeah.
to feel this separateness, this
Yes.
illusion of
The
separateness.
separateness. Yeah, I guess that's where what he and it ties all into the emotions and
Yeah.
to the feelings. And yes, so without that, yeah, I guess we would be just all part of the collective a bit more
Yeah.
with a much greater understanding
Yeah.
of how the big picture works. So yeah, the ego keeps us, I guess, individualized.
Okay. So what about the early man? They had ego. Was that mostly just for survival? I mean,
Mhm.
does the ego have something to do with the urge for survival uh,
Uh,
at all?
well, yeah, yes. What Eric is saying is that it's connected to all of the emotions. So
Okay.
all ego is connected. So yes, it would be connected to the urge for survival.
Like fear?
Uh,
I got to get
mm,
away from that saber-toothed tiger. I don't think they were around,
yes,
but
yes,
got to get away from that bear. I'm
yeah.
scared.
And so then what he's saying to me is that back. way back in the beginning of the human race, ego was good because ego actually did help form hierarchies.
Ah,
So
yeah.
like when society started to form,
Like I'm
ego.
better, you're inferior, the caste system, all that kind of stuff.
Yes, but then what happened is it got too extreme.
Yeah,
It got too extreme.
yeah,
But at first it was like there needed to be, yeah, I guess for the survival, there needed to be that structure of kind of like a couple of people in charge
yeah,
to help, you know, survive. But
yeah,
then once actual survival wasn't really the biggest issue, that's when it became too much.
yeah,
The hierarchies and that ego, that drive, that
yeah.
me kind of thing.
Exactly. So now, but we still have the global elite, this oligarchy that sort of wants to rule the world when really we don't need them.
Yeah.
And big government, we don't really need that. Um, all right. So ego served its purpose. Does it still serve its purpose in any way?
Yeah, it does. It does. And what he says is for as long as the human race exists, it serves a purpose.
Okay.
Um, it's like without the ego, if we just had no ego, there's like an evolved feeling to that.
Mm,
Again, back into the collective consciousness,
yeah.
back into the collective. And so without that, without the need for that, there would also be no need to be here.
Yeah.
Um,
Understood.
yeah,
But the ego is what makes us compare one to another, makes us sort them into different categories or hierarchies. And that can cause war, I guess. I mean, that can
yeah,
cause so many problems. So are there
yes.
people that don't have any egos?
No, he
Any
says
ego at all?
everybody has some.
Yeah. Even the
Um,
Dalai Lama, for example?
yes, there would
Wow.
still be now. If you're talking about on a spectrum of,
Oh
you
yeah,
know,
yeah.
like the Dalai Lama would be, practically down here at none, but there still is some because he is still human.
Yeah.
This is a human characteristic.
Okay.
Every human has it.
So what use is his ego, however small?
Well, what Eric is saying is he would not have gotten to where he is without some ego pushing him,
Oh yeah. Yeah.
without 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 some kind of drive to get there.
Sure. But now,
Um,
does he still need it? I mean, really?
no, he doesn't need it, but it's still there. It's
Yeah.
still there. It's like well, okay, so what Eric is saying is that, like, if you think of rage, okay?
Yeah.
Most people don't walk around having rage, A lot of people have never even had an episode where they went into rage,
Yeah.
but we all have the capability of doing it.
I see. Yeah.
So he says ego is the same way. You don't, like, maybe the Dalai Lama doesn't really need to use his ego, and so it kind of is like dormant.
Okay.
But if he needed it, it would be there.
Like chickenpox
Yeah.
turning into shingles.
Yes. Yes. Exactly.
So did Jesus Christ have an ego when he was here in a human body?
Well, technically, yes.
Yeah.
Technically, yes. Again, it's kind of like what he's saying is for people who become notable figures and have the notoriety and are kind of out there, there is a little bit of the ego of like,
The
hey, i
drive. Yeah.
i need to teach this, I need to
Yeah.
be so yes, there is some ego there, but not, it's like ego means, the word ego kind of has a complex
Yeah. I mean, there's some
meaning.
good of it, but there's also
Yes.
ego that wields a sword of harm. So
Yes.
there's ego that creates drive for beneficial purposes.
Yes.
There's the ego that's gone awry, and it can be hurtful
Yeah.
and cause
Yes.
wars and stuff. So
Absolutely.
what can you tell a person that has way too much ego and is causing themselves or others a lot of pain? Or what do you tell the person that is inflicted with that?
Uh,
They have to tolerate that.
okay, so oh, for the person who has a lot of ego, he says that that usually carries a lot of stubbornness with it.
Yeah.
Um, so he says the only thing you can do is tell them how their behavior makes you feel and hope they hear it. If somebody's doing something out of ego that's bothering you and affecting you, you be honest with them, put it right out there to them. But he says a lot of times with big ego like that, there's a lot of stubbornness of like, I am right. This is what I'm going to do. Um, so
And there's no changing their minds
whether they'll listen or not, yeah,
because
that's
that makes them they don't want to be less than. So having an ego is they're using that to be in a position where they are more than
yes,
or whether
y-
they're just enough basically. So
yes.
so what makes people that way? Insecurity, I guess? Lack of self-love? Well, I don't know what.
It can be insecurity. Sometimes it's the reinforcement, if they are good at
Ah,
something and they get all
yeah,
this reinforcement and too much praise and too much, it can kind of boost that ego to a level that's not containable anymore.
oh god, a
So
big
that,
head.
yes, that can happen. um from childhood, lack of structure, lack of parenting,
Yeah,
always being made to feel like you're so great and so wonderful and everything you do is, you know,
right.
wonderful and beautiful.
Yeah.
That can
Everybody gets
cause,
a star.
yes,
Everybody gets a trophy.
yes,
But it
yes,
seems like ego though is, a demonstration of lack of self-love because otherwise why would they need an ego to boost them up? So it seems like if somebody gets praised all the time, they would like not need an ego to bolster themselves and their
yes,
self-esteem.
but just because they get all this love from the outside doesn't mean that they feel that way about themselves.
Ah, I see.
That's
Yeah.
still that's he's Eric says those are two very separate
Oh
things
man, maybe
because
they're thinking, "Oh my God, I have to live up to that because I don't feel like
yes,
I'm really that great."
yes,
And
yes.
oh, I see.
So those two
Okay.
things can go hand in hand
Yeah,
with
wow.
all this outside praise and then
Yeah.
feeling like, oh my God, like, if I step out of line or I don't live up to this, then nobody's gonna love me.
Oh,
Conditional. He
yeah,
says that
conditional
that ends up
love.
feeling like conditional love.
Yeah, yeah. So to raise a child that is not living in ego in a negative way anyway, you have to let them fail and
Mhm.
give them or give them praise for overcoming or for tolerating or for dealing with frustration or in a way that I'm proud of you, no, but say you must be proud that you failed that test, but you studied all night for the makeup test. That you must be
Yes.
proud. So they have to think, well, am I proud? Yeah, I guess I am. So they learned how to self-praise instead of, well, I'm proud of you. And then they think, okay, I better keep doing whatever's making my dad proud.
Yes. Yeah, that's a great way. That's a great way to do it. And when they when they do fail, let there be consequences. Let them have to figure
Sure.
their way out of it, and
Yeah.
don't be doing their homework for them, and
Mm-mm.
you know
I know.
that kind of
Yeah.
stuff.
Yeah, exactly. But we don't want to see them hurt. But in
Oh,
the long run, it is so much more painful
yeah.
to when you shield somebody a child from failure and frustration and disappointment and conflict. It's just they're not able to function in
Yeah.
the world as in an adult life.
You prevent them from having the life skills that they are going to need.
Yeah.
Like Eric's like, make no mistake that people will need these life skills, and by doing that, you prevent them from learning the life skills that they'll need as adults.
Okay. So are there any people who come in as being very humble with a
Oh
whole bunch of
yes.
humility?
Oh yes, absolutely. Um,
And what is their spiritual contract? Why do they come in like that?
So I keep being shown like Mother Teresa.
Oh, yeah, I
You know,
bet.
like
Yeah. I don't
so
know. We interviewed her. She seemed to have a little bit of an ego. Of course, everybody
well,
does,
it's
but
just, it's my reference for
oh
somebody
yeah,
that's
oh
incredibly
yeah.
humble, so that's
I
what I
got it.
keep being shown.
Yeah,
Somebody who's incredibly humble. Um, eh, but yes, there would have to have been ego to get her to where to where she was.
yeah,
But people who are incredibly humble are absolutely here to teach other people
yeah,
um, about being humble, about how, you don't have to get praised for every single thing that you do. You can kind of pay it forward. You can do kind things for others. There are definitely people who come in that are very humble and actually kind of spread that love are
yeah.
here as light workers, is what Eric is saying.
Ah, I
They're
see.
they're here as light workers.
And I do
Um,
think it helps create a sense of humility when you do humanitarian things, when you just smile at a stranger, make a
yes.
it can be just simple. It doesn't have to cost anything, but I guess it raises your vibration and sort of
Mhm.
chips away at your ego a little bit.
Yeah, well, it can bring it more into balance. It's okay to have a balance of being humble and having a little bit
Oh
of an
yeah,
ego.
yeah.
Some people's ego would never show. You would never know, but maybe in their head they're thinking, you
Oh
know,
yeah,
ego-centered things when they might appear to be a very humble person.
yeah.
So humble and ego do kind of balance each other out.
Yeah.
So yeah, being humble, it's actually something that can be learned. Eric said you can
Oh.
learn to be humble.
Hmm.
So, some behavior you can't learn to be empathic. You either come in
Oh,
with empathy or you don't. If you
yeah.
don't have empathy, you can't learn empathy.
Oh, that's
But you
terrible.
you can learn to be humble.
Yeah.
It takes practice, he
And
said.
sometimes it just takes a lot of hardships and tragedies, and
Yes.
takes you be. I think that's slapped a lot of the ego out of me. I mean, it's also raising 5 kids, that some of them were hellions, but
Yeah.
yeah, it's just really sometimes you have to go that route where it
Yes.
just I
Yeah.
don't, why does that beat the ego out of people? I don't understand that.
Well, because okay, so what Eric is saying is like when you have the big ego like that, it really is all about you and all about, what's going on and what's your life and what's my next car. There's like all this
Yeah.
when you have, these major massive things that happen to you, all the day-to-day stuff is less important.
Oh yeah. I never really had I mean my parents, the way I was raised, oh nobody was allowed to have much of an ego anyway. I mean we had
Yes.
self-esteem issues if anything, but okay, so then everything else, I mean you have a resetting of priorities,
Yes.
and that
Yes.
makes all the little things, the little ego in your head wants meaningless. Is that what you mean?
Yeah. Yes. Or if not meaningless, less important.
Less important.
Absolutely
Okay.
less important. You have so many other things to think about. It can be that can actually be a turning point for somebody with that's maybe egocentric
Yeah.
to humble them more. Having a major, losing a major job, getting fired, getting arrested,
Yeah.
losing a child or a loved one. That can change things. That can be a turning point for some people in this area for sure.
Yeah, it definitely can. It's interesting. Wouldn't wish it on anyone, but is there anything else you can tell us about ego and how we can make the best use our ego for good and avoid using it for not so good? There's no negative or positive around, but I find that
Yeah.
people with ego really protected by being right. Got to be right.
Yes.
Got to be right. Got to control.
Yes.
But yeah, so what advice can you give all of us, Eric?
Just he says just step outside of yourself. Try to see your behavior from somebody else's point of view, or
Ah,
try to see your behavior, like take your behavior and what would you think of somebody else who was acting like this and behaving like this. Maybe you think great things. Maybe you would think, well, maybe I shouldn't do this, maybe I shouldn't do that. You need to have um to be kind of a self-reflective person to be able to do
yeah.
that anyways.
And that's hard for somebody with a big ego, though.
Yes, it is. It is. Um, people with the big egos, you know, they are a driving force. They can be, he said though. So,
Yeah.
um, they can accomplish a lot.
Yeah.
But he says people who don't have big egos can accomplish a lot too.
Yeah, I was gonna ask that. Good. Okay, so,
Yes.
well, look at the Dalai Lama and Gandhi and all those. I mean, they accomplished a great Mother Teresa,
Yes.
through humility.
So it's kind of like maybe more like in the corporate world, like the Fortune 100
Mm,
type of stuff, maybe where you see a lot of ego, those kind of accomplishments that would have a financial, very a vast financial. But then he
okay.
says, for people who have a Fortune 500 company, maybe they got there on ego, but look at all the people that they provide jobs for.
Yeah.
So maybe it was ego that it took to get them
Yeah.
there. But if they're employing thousands and thousands of people,
But
you
it
know,
wasn't necessarily ego that was meant that they used to hurt people, right? Getting
right,
there?
but it could still be ego that maybe is a little annoying, he said,
Oh, I gotcha. I gotcha.
like, kind of like, that sort of thing, but it has its place.
Yeah, well, annoying because somebody might be jealous of the executive that brought his company to the Fortune 500
Hmm.
ranking. Is that it?
Yeah.
Because
Well,
I read,
yes, and like the ego of kind of like I'm better than you, so I'm just gonna, like there's that
oh,
sort
well,
of.
yeah, if they had to get there by stepping on other
Yes.
people, yeah,
Yes.
but not, I don't think it's always necessary,
No,
is
it's
it?
not. No, it's
But a
not. But
lot do.
but
Yeah.
but yes,
Or
especially
some
he
at least.
says in
Yeah.
that like corporate,
Yeah. Yeah.
there's a lot more of that type of ego in that corporate,
Dog eat
not all.
dog world.
Yes.
Hmm.
Yes,
All
and
right.
almost like you need ego to survive there.
Yeah. All right. One last. Yeah, you don't want to be under your chair in your cubicle,
Yes.
whimpering
Yeah.
and singing show tunes and sucking your thumbs. Okay. So
Yeah.
one last question: can spirits have an ego if they choose? I mean, what if they want to feel that little bit of separation?
Well, he says no, not in the way that a human has an ego, but that there
Ah.
is a way to feel the separation. Spirits can feel like individuals, but he
Ah.
says it's not really like ego, like it's not comparable.
Oh, I see. Okay.
Not the
So
right word, he
do you
said.
like to do you like to feel like an individual sometimes, Eric?
Yes, absolutely.
Oh, good. Okay.
Absolutely.
Okay, well, I guess that's it. Anything else you want to add, Eric, before we close up shop?
Just that I love you.
I still love you too, and Jennifer, I love you too. And
Love you.
you guys can check her out at psychicmediumjenniferdoran.com, which I will put right here. Please subscribe and share. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.